You know, it's funny. The internet is just everywhere. It's this invisible force that lets you talk to anyone, watch pretty much anything, learn whatever you want. It's so woven into our lives we don't even see it anymore. But its story, where it actually came from, it's one of the most surprising and incredible stories in modern history. And to get it, we really have to go back to the beginning.
Right. So when we think internet, we think of this, a universe of social media, streaming, shopping, cat videos, all of it. But here's the crazy part. It wasn't born in some Silicon Valley garage to help us share photos. Its origins are way, way darker. They were born from one of the single greatest fears of the 20th century, total world-ending nuclear war.
So, let's set the scene. It's the 1960s, the absolute peak of the Cold War. The Pentagon is staring down a truly terrifying problem. Their entire command and control system for the whole country was centralized. And that meant a single well-placed Soviet missile could just snip the wires. It could instantly cripple the government's ability to talk to anyone.
I mean, look at a centralized system like this. It has a single fatal flaw. Sure, it's efficient, but it's also incredibly fragile. You take out that one central hub, and the entire network goes dark. Instantly. No communication, no coordination, nothing.
So the solution they came up with was, well, it was completely radical for the time. Instead of that fragile star shape, they imagined a resilient web, a decentralized network where there was no single center. The idea was that if one part of the network, or even 100 parts, got vaporized, the information would just automatically find another route to get where it was going. This was a network literally designed to survive the apocalypse.
But here's where the story takes a turn. The military saw a survival tool, right? But this visionary psychologist and computer scientist J.C.R. Licklider, he saw something else entirely. Back when computers were these giant room-sized calculators, he was dreaming of an intergalactic computer network, a future where anyone, anywhere, could get information. His vision basically gave a soul to the technical skeleton the military was building. So, by the late 1960s, this wild idea of a survivable network actually started to become real. It was called ARPANET, funded by the Department of Defense, and it was about to speak its very first words. And when I say it was becoming real, I mean it was tiny, like ridiculously small. The whole network was just these 4 locations, basically a little experimental web connecting a few big university computers out on the West Coast. All right, so the scene is set. It's October 29, 1969. A young student programmer at UCLA, Charlie Klein, sits down to send the very first message across the network. The goal? Super simple. He just needed to log into the computer at Stanford, hundreds of miles away. And to do that, he had to type one word: login. He's actually on the phone with the guy at Stanford just to make sure it's all working. He types the first letter, L. The voice on the other end says, "Yep, got the L. Okay, good start." So he types the next letter, O. Again, the confirmation comes back from Stanford, got the O. The system's holding up. The connection's live. He gets ready to type the G.
And boom, the whole system just crashes.
So the very first message ever successfully sent across this brand new network wasn't login, it wasn't some grand pronouncement, it was just low, as in lo and behold. You couldn't make it up. It was this perfect accidental birth announcement for a whole new era. So, ARPANET is alive, it's growing, but a brand new problem starts to pop up. Other networks were being built too, but they all spoke different digital languages. It was like the Tower of Babel for computers. For them to ever connect and become a true internet, a network of networks, they needed a common tongue, a universal translator. And this is where 2 absolute legends, Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn, step in. In the 70s, they developed the protocol that still, to this day, runs the entire internet, TCP/IP. You can basically think of it as the universal language for all computers. And the way it works is just genius. Think of it like a super efficient digital postal service. So TCP takes your information, let's say a photo, and it chops it up into these tiny numbered pieces called packets. Then IP acts like the mailman. It puts an address on each little packet and sends it out on whatever the fastest route is at that exact second. Finally, when all those little packets arrive at the other end, TCP is there to collect them and use the numbers to put them back together in the exact right order. Brilliant. Okay, so by the 1980s, the internet is a real thing. It's using TCP/IP, and it's become this amazing tool for academics and researchers. But it was not a place for normal people. It was all text. You had to know all these complex commands. There were no websites, no links, definitely no pictures. It was a club for experts.
The next giant leap comes from, of all places, a nuclear physics lab in Switzerland called CERN. A British physicist working there, Tim Berners-Lee, was just frustrated. He saw thousands of brilliant scientists struggling to share their research with each other, and he just thought, there has to be a better way.
So what does he do? Between 1989 and 1991, he basically single-handedly invents the three core technologies that we now think of as the web. He creates HTML, the language to actually make a web page. He creates the URL, that unique address for every single page. And he creates HTTP, the system that lets your browser ask for and get a page from a server. This wasn't the internet itself. This was a whole new layer of information that's set on top of the internet, the World Wide Web.
But maybe the most important part of the entire story is what he and CERN did next. They gave it away for free. They didn't patent it, they didn't charge a dime for it. They just released the whole idea out into the world for anyone to use and build on. And that decision, that changed everything.
Because that open, free approach was the kindling. The match that lit the fire came in 1993 with a browser called Mosaic. And what made it so special? It was the first browser that made the web visual and easy. You could see images right there on the page with the text. And when that happened, usage didn't just grow, it went vertical. The secret club was suddenly open to absolutely everyone.
So when you step back and look at it, this whole journey is just wild, right? It all starts with that funny low message on a tiny 4-computer network in 1969. Then comes a universal language, TCP/IP, that lets all the networks talk. Then, in 91, the World Wide Web is just given to the world, for free. And just 2 years after that, the Mosaic browser lights the fuse and brings it all into our homes. It's an incredible story. In just a few decades, an idea that started as a military plan to survive a nuclear attack transformed into the central nervous system of our entire global society, our culture, our economy. It's this powerful lesson in how military need, combined with academic collaboration and a deep commitment to open ideas, can change the world in ways no one could have ever predicted.
And that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? This whole revolutionary network was built on these incredible founding principles of collaboration, of decentralization, of openness. So when you look at the internet today, with its giant corporations, its walled gardens, and all the fights over who controls it, you have to ask, is that original spirit still alive?